Hey everyone, we're back after our rest week, uh, or not really a rest week, more like a UK Games Expo week for me at least. Um, yeah, we are back with the Open Hearth playing Godkiller by Connie Chang. The link is below. My name is Dana. My pronouns are he, him. I am running the game. Mads, why don't you introduce yourself and your character, and then maybe a previously on before we jump back in, just to remind ourselves what was most important.
Okay. Um, Hopefully I remember. But yeah, Mads, she, they pronouns, and I'm playing Walang Tile, Wall for short, she, they. And she's pretty much uh, like in a different kind of weeds at the moment. She had come out of figuring out the mystery behind Newbridge, but then trying to go deeper because it seemed like the wolves' heads were moving in and slowly taking over the town, which didn't make any sense to Wall. And she tried to confront the new heads, the new council of Newbridge, and found out that nope, they're being used as placeholders while the wolves' heads are trying to really entrench themselves and take over and invade. And so they captured her in a sense, sending her down to the depths. Um, and she goes down but feels the power of the devil and manages to find a pathway out, which led through a surreal landscape leading to Lord Basphamel. And that's where she found herself. And he seems to be keeping her, questioning about why, um, what he might want from her. And currently, he seems to be kind. I mean, like he's giving her shelter. He seems to be giving her a little bit of relief from her memories um, of the pestilence and all the torment from seeing some of these gods and what they've done. But again, she's not sure what is going to come due once Basphamel figures out what he wants to do with her. At least that's things on her mind at the moment. But yeah, she's currently resting in his home, citadel, whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
Yep. I mean, I was calling it a palace, I think, which sounds much nicer than a citadel.
Yep.
Okay, great stuff. So I think maybe before we have an opportunity to reintroduce you to Bashfamel, do you think you want to, the next morning explore or,
Oh yeah.
poke your nose around?
Yeah. I mean, sure. In a god's domain, why not? See how much trouble
What
I
could
can get
possibly
into.
go wrong, right?
What could possibly go wrong? It'll great. It'll be wonderful, for sure. Um, yeah. So I think she'd fallen asleep, or yeah, um, yeah. I think she'd fallen asleep on that lounge in his grand great room or whatever it was, and maybe she'd taken some refreshment. She drank his mead or wine or whatever, and then like had some fruit, remembering that, and then like wakes. Is there really like morning and night here? I mean, she dreamt it was nighttime, in like Twilight Sands and such. But I mean, I don't remember if there was any real perception of day or night once she made
Yeah,
it out of the Devil's Domain.
yeah. I mean, I think the way I described it, this place is maybe in between this hellish landscape and kind of
Mm.
um but like there is maybe some kind of a normal sky above it, like directly above it. So there's definitely a sense of some natural light coming in here. If you stand outside or if you look out a window. I think though maybe, and this is probably what is disconcerting, is when you wake up and before you realize, that maybe the red light coming from outside is not a dawn, but is this hellfire. You hear the sound of birds doing their dawn chorus, right? So it seems to be natural, but obviously it can't be.
Yeah.
And I think if you were to stay inside these walls, you might forget what it's like outside.
Hmm.
Uh, I mean, as you realize that, do you think it's tempting at all? There's like a part of you that says, I could just stay here and subsist is the wrong word, but, do fine and forget all of the things that are going on outside.
I mean, I think those memories of pestilence and little slaughter and such and the devil were kind of like padded and like, made distant, made quieter. But I think she's still feeling that tug to adventure, to see more of what's out there, because she'd been at the cloisters for so long that I think, you know, as grand as this is, as beautiful as this is, I think there's a fear there. There's a fear of, like, being even less useful, even less, uh, you know, drawn to adventure if she decides to fall for this and try to just stay inside this palace and not venture out again. So I think, that fear is, like, driving her more than the possibility of comfort and just shelter. Um, I mean, like, she'll want to look out. She'll want to see if she can get out and see
Mm.
if there's anything, I don't know, within the walls of this palace, and to see if there's anybody else even about. If she doesn't spot Lord Basphamel, you know, anywhere nearby, then she's going to be trying to see where this stuff comes from, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, so yeah, I think certainly on the like you wander around and there's no one around. No servants, no deliveries, none of the kind of normal activity that must occur in anything like this. But again, I think the dining rooms or the kitchens are just full of food, fresh food. Um, Impossibly out of season, maybe impossibly fresh, given that there's no one around here who could have delivered it, you know, an hour ago or whatever. Um, so definitely, you know, when you stop to think about it, um, this is all a little bit strange, all a little bit divine. I wonder if you want to dig deeper. I think you're feeling something out, like
Yeah,
the
that.
whole place, if that makes sense.
Yes. I'm gonna mention something, and I don't know if you
Hmm.
want me to do it as a response to one of the answers, or if this is gonna drive necessarily which question it
Hmm.
applies to. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm thinking, as she's making her way through this place, and even seeing that there's multiple dining rooms. Maybe there's a dining room for each season. Maybe there's a kitchen for each season, or just yeah, multiples of these things. And it's all about food. It seems to be about, like, fruit, as you say, like fruit impossibly, out of season or whatever. Vegetables that just seem to be growing with like, some kind of, um, like, impossible size. But I mean, like, still looking edible and rich and whatever. Um, I think she's going to reach out and then have like maybe a piece of fruit, create a plate in one of these places. She's going to create a plate and she's going to go around to the different areas and start to eat. Like, eat till she feels full of like some vegetables and some fruit, and like if it looks like there's cooked meats, I mean, like she's going to take some of that as well, just to feel like she's satiated herself. But she's going to notice if that stuff has replenished itself right away after she's taken it and eaten it, or if it seems like, once it's gone, right?
Mm.
Um, so I think, yeah, I think welcoming on the surface is just this bounty,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
with the possibility of like, multiple rooms dedicated to different seasons. Maybe there are even like, the aesthetic is of winter, and it's like, like it has colors of cold and frost, but yet it's very like comfortable. But then these are fruits that would be perfect on ice, and maybe they are on ice. Like, just um, uh, drinks that seem to be part made of snow, and then like, with flavoring of wines and juices and such. And then like, the springtime is just like, fruits that she knows are abundant in the spring, um, but yet are existing here. And it feels slightly balmy, but also somehow there's a breeze coming in even though there's no window. And she takes each of these pieces of fruit or food that's created, and she tries to notice whether there's like, um, uh, any disappearance or replenishment like right away.
Mm. Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
and she's also seeing like, how they're presented in like, these brilliant beautiful piles that look very enticing, right? I mean, like, or display that looks like if there was a person there presenting it, they'd be like, look how beautiful these colors are against each other and such. So yeah, that's what seems
Yeah,
welcoming on the
yeah.
surface.
I think yeah, the whole thing is about the aesthetic. And
Hmm.
everything is obviously like a feast for the eyes, but then also like every grape is perfect. There's no duff ones in there, right? Um, which I guess to modern minds sounds like normal, but also, it's not.
No.
Um, uh, and I think it takes like maybe you do like a circuit
Hmm.
and it doesn't look like they're replenishing, but I think, it takes so long to kind of do your samples. I think you like there's like bells or something like this for lunch. And then like everything just magically replenishes right in front of your eyes. And it's slightly different, like a slightly different menu for lunch. Because having the exact same thing all day around would be boring. Um, and yeah, it just maybe it even happens in front of your eyes. It is definitely some ridiculously powerful overkill kind of divine magic, right?
Yeah, I think,
It just
yeah, I mean, I think she's, yeah, like as soon as she hears those bells, it's kind of like it feels like, around that time, and then like she rushes back to the rooms that she was in, and then like, starts to realize it's like it's almost like the food is growing back.
mm, yeah,
Yeah, and that's just like that gives her that gives that makes her more uncomfortable. It's like, why? Why would you need to refill when it's only at this point just her, right? Um, that seems odd. Um, Does it look like Basphamel's been here at all? Like, that maybe he's taken his fill or like eaten any of this.
Yeah, I think maybe as your thoughts go less to the resplendent state of the palace and you think about him, you suddenly maybe you get a sense of him prowling above, like at a balcony level, at like a second floor level. And I mean, it can't be a coincidence that as soon as you think about him, you kind of notice his presence, right?
Hmm.
Has he been stalking you all morning? Has he been like looking at you experience this for the first time and like feeding on that kind of pleasure that until you kind of realize how dark this is?
Right.
Um,
Can you remind me like whether he excuse me. Does he appear as like a very beautiful man and but like, full on man, or is he like part like his heart, which is like with the body of a lion?
I th well, so I think usually what we have is like you have to wipe away something to see to the heart, right?
Okay.
It's not
That's what I was
always
wondering.
quite so evident.
Right.
And I think for Basphamel, it's the same. I think maybe this is the first time you get a sense of that um feline hunting thing
Hmm.
going on. But yeah, I think like the visage is of a like extremely beautiful man.
I think in her dream, I mean, like she had a sense of it because it felt like she saw paws rather
Mhm.
than she saw like his full on beautiful form. I mean, like probably he's in diaphanous robes, if in any robes at all or whatever. I mean, it's just like being able to see like his again feast for the eyes. Okay, great. um, and I think she hears and feels him more than she knows that he's there before she turns around and actually sees him.
Mhm.
Um, because maybe she hears like the low panting growl. Maybe she hears the padding of paws, of large paws, but like he comes in and like steps in like a human, like on 2 feet. And she turns around once she realizes that he's there and sees the food, also noticing that the food is replenishing itself in a different way, and turns around and sees him and just, in spite of herself, she gasps, like, just so beautiful it hurts. Like, he's there. He looks as he does, and she's very conscious of she's no one. She looks as she does. And she just bows, and says, Lord Basphamel, I hope you don't mind. I'm trying to uh, eat my fill and just refresh myself. I hope you don't mind.
Not at all. You are my guest here, and so you will never want.
But why? All this? All this for just me? When do you eat? And she says it just in that slow, deliberate way.
Mhm.
When do you eat?
I have plenty of time for such things.
And when you don't eat, what do you do?
Oh, I hunger. I hunger for things just like you do.
but I don't eat all the time. And I don't hunger now. I think I've had plenty in all these places that I've been and tried different things, but I think I hunger for something that isn't physical here. I mean, like, and she just kind of gestures to the tables of food.
Mhm. Well, music, perhaps.
Do you have music here?
Do you not recall you heard some harp music last night?
To be honest, I might have had too much of the wine or the drink that you had, and I feel like I don't remember very much from last night.
Well, we hunger for things that are not just food. Jade, the arts, good company, even love.
Really? Even you?
Just as an example of things people hunger for.
Maybe that's maybe that's part of it. I left my station, I suppose, because I thought we needed to be evacuated because the pestilence had come. But then I didn't return because I didn't want to see the same faces, the same people, day in and day out like I did before. Maybe in that way I hungered for more connection with new people. But I just saw different things. I saw people that looked at me with, I guess, disgust for leaving my place, abandoning my home, I suppose. And then I saw people that didn't realize what was happening to them as I saw them being taken advantage of. And then she just remembers about the wolf's heads and just thinking, and they're probably still being taken advantage of.
And I
I don't know
think
if there's.
he gives you, or he holds out his hand to you. You do not disgust me. All the decisions that you have made seem to have been just and good. Why shouldn't you take your repast here for a while? Let the world pass you by. Until you are ready to go back out.
Oh, it's so tempting. I mean, as she takes his hand, and then what does it feel like to hold his hand?
Um, I think it feels, mm, it feels exactly the right temperature. Okay, so like not warm, not cold. It feels comfortable, in this kind of, there's no calluses, but it's not clammy. It's kind of this. like archetypically perfect handhold. Um, yeah, and strangely comforting. I think you can feel maybe this kind of stress, this kind of worry that was beginning to build up. You can kind of feel your heartbeat slow almost as soon as you take his hand.
I think I think as she takes his hand and she starts to say what she's going to say, I think she will use it to kind of pull herself in and actually try to give him a hug. Like wanting to see if he will put his arms around her, but trying to feel what it's like to be close to him.
Hmm. Um, you think this is connecting, or do you think this is acting impulsively, or if we
I
feel like this is slightly dubious, tempting fate? I don't know.
I don't
Uh,
know.
how,
I mean,
how,
like she's not. I don't think it's perilous unless he's gonna eat her right then and there. I
yeah.
was thinking about connecting with someone because I mean, again, it's she was connecting with the people as much as she could,
Mhm.
but I think she still felt distant from them, and I think this is the closest she's ever been with anyone. Even like with her, purported friend, uh,
Eurystheus.
Theresia.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean he wasn't even this close to her,
Mhm.
um, and she never touched Junal either. Um, so yeah, I mean this is the most intimate that she's been with anyone, and so again she's going to like let herself fall into his arms to see if he will hold her back,
Mhm.
and then she'll murmur into his. No, I mean I don't know what the what the height difference is, but I mean like maybe she feels like very comfortably nestled like against his chest, but then I think she'll murmur, I've never been with anyone. I've always held them at arm's length because I never felt like I belonged, that I could have anything with them, even even a friend that would bring the outside world to me with his stories. I mean, that was just it. Those stories. We would sit together, but never like this. Never like this. And so, yeah, she's trying to connect, and um, maybe that's what she's pulling on for common ground. It's like
Yeah.
the connection of
Um,
touch. I mean,
yeah. I mean, do you think that this is the common ground that, he craves for this connection just like Wall does?
that depends.
Well, you
Is
get to answer
I think
the whichever
I
question you
mean
want.
if she feels his arms settle closely and comfortably tight around her, then she knows that she's reached something.
Mhm.
I mean, maybe he's only admired beauty, and again, like her, consumed things at a distance, like listening to stories or you know music or food. I mean, like, food goes in and comes right back out later on. But I mean, like in this case, it's like, a connection with someone by touch.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe the common ground of, having never known a like a true connection sounds about right. But I wonder if the realization you have of what divides you is, he seems very comfortable like wrapping you up. And it's not that he has never done this before. It's just that there is always something maybe internal to him that prevents the connection. And you get a sense of this dark hunger within him that means he can never be satisfied with what someone can give him.
Does he have a heartbeat?
Uh, yeah, that's a good question. Um,
Maybe that's the thing that she
yeah,
realizes.
yeah, so Wall is like a person, and even
Hmm.
if she's never done this romantically, she's still aware that, when you hurt someone, you can probably feel their heartbeat, right?
Hmm. At the very least,
Um,
hear it or something.
from
Yeah.
childhood or whatever.
Yeah.
But there is a vast emptiness inside this person. There is there is no actual warmth. It's almost like he is using your warmth and just reflecting it back on you.
She feels his arms, which feel incredible, but doesn't hear the heartbeat, and that just makes her blink her eyes open and then slowly like lift her head to look up at him. I want to say that maybe, even if it's not like fully apparent, maybe for half a second, maybe she sees that feral predator in his eyes before his eyes turn normal looking, more human looking, and just kind of he gazes back at her. But I think she's seen it, and then just kind of like, will slowly, carefully, you know, knowing what she knows, she will carefully pull herself away and then just kind of like, shrug a little bit, like, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to impose. I just wanted to feel someone's touch, at least for a moment.
And I think you get the sense of he is irked that you have drawn away from him, right?
Hmm.
But he's like doesn't say anything that would really give anyone else that kind of impression. He
Hmm.
says, "It's quite all right. Why don't you enjoy some music? And we will speak again at nightfall over supper."
I'd like that. She just kind of like, laughs a little bit to cover up some of that discomfort. So she kind of like keeps her eyes darted away, like as if she's like, a little ashamed of how she kind of let herself be emotionally vulnerable for a little bit. But I mean, like, her wheels are turning, and just kind of like, um, that would be good. I will see you at nightfall. Yeah, and she'll turn away from the bounty in the food rooms, and then she will go back to the great hall, at least for now,
Hmm.
to see, or is the music kind of like coming in from anywhere and everywhere, no matter where she goes.
Um, I mean, I think um, what will happen is, as you walk back into a different room from like the dining room, maybe the music starts and maybe there's like a room in each of the four season wings of the palace with different styles of music or whatever. So I think it fades in and out as you walk around, and but it's there for the afternoon if you do wish to partake.
Yeah, maybe she walks in, and then, like, she will take advantage of the vastness of the rooms per se to just um, enjoy moving around, and, like, look at all of the art that exists in how this place was built. Um, like the walls, the ceilings, like the sconces or whatever. I mean, like, it's a lot to take in, and it's very different, of course, in each
Mhm.
of the rooms. And it's just, as you say, a feast for the eyes, and just all the things that seem very harmonious. And the music just seems to add to that aesthetic, right? I mean, like, the different stylings of the music will just accentuate how each of these rooms look. And maybe, like, as she's going through, like, there's like maybe the wafting of the food from the different dining rooms and such. But I think she's ignoring that in favor of, like, letting her ears listen
Mhm.
carefully
Yeah.
to what is happening. Um, but she tries to look outside. In each place that she's at, she's trying to find a place to see if there's like a window, or, you know, some kind of egress outside. Is there?
Yeah, there's definitely windows. I mean, there's even doors. I mean, you came through a door, these grand entrance out to that gate, that
Mm-hmm.
overgrown gate you came into the palace initially. So yeah, I guess it's like a normal palace. There are windows that I'm sure you could open, um, and doorways that you can exit via. So yeah, there's no sense that this is rated to truly be a prison, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, or at least maybe your inkling is that the prison here is of your own making. If you wish to be kept here, you will. Um, but I think there might be there's some kind of sense that goes against that, I think. I'm not sure. Um, there's definitely something here that is not quite as nice as even this voluntary prison idea.
Yeah. Can she? Oof. Oh man.
I mean, there's a if you're thinking of what to do here, if you want to
Yeah.
delve deeper,
Mm-hmm.
um, I mean, you could certainly uh, tempt fate or wield the power if you think pain or hellfire would achieve your goal.
Don't.
Or of course, you could also wonder with your vagabond move.
Mm, mm. Yeah, I think, and this could be in general. I mean, not just him,
Mm.
not just Lord Basphamel, but I mean, like, what aren't they telling me? Like,
Yeah.
what is here? You know, what is the darkness behind, or what is the emptiness behind all this, right?
So, I mean, how do you think is this some kind of just, we've seen Wall be kind of suspicious of power and
Hmm.
um, of this kind of dynamic before. Is this like their intrinsic suspicion, or do you think this is something a little bit more of a, how will we say, like a, almost like a predatorial nose for weakness? Well, how do you envisage this?
I think she whispers to herself, as below, so possibly above. So where she had to go down to get to the truth at Newbridge, maybe she decides, I've only seen like the ground floor of this place, and she recalls hearing those weird footsteps, which weren't footsteps, up above. So maybe she tries to find a way to go upstairs. Yeah. At the very least, it's like if she goes up higher, maybe she'll get to a place where she can survey
Hmm.
beyond this palace.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so yeah, I think your feet guide you, up and up and up. Um, and I think the weird symmetry is probably here is this kind of fourfold seasonal wings is kind of helping you because really there's every place, every one of these four wings seems to be exactly the same. So it's not like you have to choose to go over here to find
Hmm.
a high place. Everything is kind of merging into one as you go higher and higher. Um, and I think you come to this tower, which is like above everything. And the spiral staircase brings you to this platform. Uh, and the ceiling of this tower goes, way off, beyond where the light reaches. But you see hanging from that ceiling is a person hanging, hanging on chains, head down, like almost pointed directly towards you.
Upon that, she's gonna. I mean, can she? Can she reach them via the stairs? Or are they just hanging so high above that it's impossible?
Um, I think there is maybe like a, a a small staircase onto a platform which brings you right up to this person, almost like it's designed for, I don't know, like a viewing platform, um, like somewhere where you can haunt this person almost.
I mean, like, without even realizing that she's doing it. I mean, like, I think her face twists into an expression of horror, and she brushes to the edge of that platform to see what she can see.
Mhm.
Who is this? A person? Is this what is this?
Yeah, so they are youngish, maybe late teens or early 20s. And whatever clothes they had is kind of ripped and fading, but was obviously quite grand, quite expensive at the time. But also, I mean, it gives you pause. Like the time it would take for the clothes to rot like that means that this person probably can't be as young as they seem, right? Um, and if they were truly mortal, they probably would have died in that time being suspended like this. Um, but as you hear at their appearance, they they give you a downward glance. Um, and I guess as bedraggled as this person looks in their current state, there's definitely like a hint of, I don't know, roguish charm, rose about them. Well, you're new, he says.
Who, who are you? And what are you doing there? I mean, is this platform looking up at them, or is it like kind of like on the level?
Yeah, I think you're able to pretty much look in their face. Or let's put it this way, if you were Bashfamel, you would be able to look at them directly in their face.
Is this something that I can reach, or it would it would take a lot to try to get to them because of the distance?
I think it would be a bit of a risk for sure, but you can see yourself like maybe clambering onto the uh the balustrade here at your viewing platform and reaching across to pull them in. But
Sure. Okay.
it wouldn't be straight. It's not easy, or at least it wouldn't be straightforward.
Right. Okay. Um, who are you? What is this?
This is this is what happens when you say no to a god.
What did he ask you to do?
My name is Dogtooth. You may have heard of me.
Not to. Is this something that she would have read about? Like, um,
Yeah, maybe it rings a bell. Maybe you can recognize a god. Um,
okay. Um, yeah, I'm wondering whether this is a second. Okay, recognize a god. Okay. Am I near their domain?
Not so much. I mean, you're very near them, but
Yeah.
not the domain.
Okay.
Um,
And I mean, like, I want to call upon again, like, for the fact that she's been a scribe, maybe, and has transcribed like some of
hmm,
the things in the books that, if she has heard of him, then she would know their gospel. Um,
yeah,
do
that
you think
seems
that's
fair.
fair?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Um, and would it be bad if I didn't know?
I don't think it would be bad if you didn't know. You're not in serious trouble here.
Okay.
So plus one.
Okay. Okay, that is 5 plus 2, so that's an 8.
Okay.
Yep.
So yeah, I think you know you know this god and what they're up to. You can see um their details in the god's tab.
Okay.
And I think I mean, I think perhaps one of these one of these missives that you have read about Dogtooth is almost just this very situation. Sometimes in the past, Dogtooth has taken their role as, a gambler or a trickster a little bit too far. And sometimes they're just, you know, given an ass kicking. And sometimes they are taught a serious lesson. And this might appear to be one of those situations.
You're
Do you think we should take a break?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I didn't even realize we reached the
yeah.
hour. um, 10 minutes, okay? Okay.
Okay, we're back. So you're confronted with this imprisoned god, definitely not enjoying the hospitality of Basphamel. What do you do?
I. I mean, she kind of just stares up at him. I mean, obviously the treatment's not great, um, but I think she will ask. So, what did Basphamel ask you that you said no? If I can ask.
Well, it's a little bit embarrassing. I enticed someone to leave here, and he demanded that I return them. And well, I refused his kind offer.
Did they leave on their own volition? Or did you make them leave?
Well, I mean, the fun with enticing is that they have a choice.
And she, that hits, but I mean, like, she kind of laughs it off and saying, I'm starting to realize that. Do you have a choice?
You mean, but I climb out of this at a moment notice and leave?
Yeah.
No, no. I very much value my freedom.
And that is something that I agree with. Trying to connect with somebody. I think
Yeah,
she's gonna smile and she's gonna say, yeah, on that we agree. I haven't been here for more than a full day, and I realize that's something I want to, but I don't know if he would actually grant it. But that's my choice, right?
sure, sure. You can walk out anytime you want, but his response might not be as generous as he would have you believe.
No, I'm pretty sure that he would take it very badly. Hmm. And you're, I guess, hanging proof. What does keep you here? You seem to be long lived. Understatement. Why couldn't you just get out of your bonds and leave?
Um, well, if you were left in this position, imprisoned by a fellow mortal, what would your options be?
Hmm.
My immortality is part of the cruelty here because I cannot die from exhaustion or hunger or any of those petty mortal concerns. Um, I just have to persist with the pain.
What is he feeding you pain now, or is this something that he does for fun later?
I don't think I mean, the very act of hanging here with these manacles on me is painful. Uh, but, he taunts me. He tells me how stupid I'm being, how I could have done it all, the usual things that when you have nothing but time to think about them, their way into your brain.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. All it takes is time, right? Hmm. She kind of like contemplates him for a few minutes and just so. Do you want to get out, or are you enjoying yourself too much?
Um, see now I'm suspecting a trick question, which is ironic, right? I very much want to be freed from my chains, these manacles, this prison, this palace, this absurd hole in the ground that Basphamel likes to call his domain. Uh, I can't be clearer than that, can I?
No, no.
Okay.
Where would you go if you were free?
I mean, I don't know. I'd probably go to a pub, enjoy a nice pint of the finest red ale available, uh, pick up some dice, have a chat, sleep in a proper bed. I don't know. I mean, I would go somewhere, anywhere. Uh, I'll pick a direction to walk. How about that? You pick a direction. I'll walk. I don't care so long as it's not here.
Yeah. Hmm.
But if you know where the nearest pub is, I entreat you to point me in that direction.
I know a good one. Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. I'm sold.
Is there a way to look around, like the back or like up top or whatever, to see like how Dogtooth is bound?
Um, yeah. So I mean, I think these are probably classic manacles around his wrists, and the chains go up into the darkness.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's, you know, probably a keyhole um, on both of those manacles by which he could be released.
Because I'm wondering whether it's like something that maybe perhaps Wall has read about and has like something in her little bag that could be used to like help lockpick him out, or at the very least, it's like if she could find a way to you know lower him or
Hmm.
release him or what have you.
Um,
Because I mean, like, I just feel like this is this is this is doing something fun. Tempting fate. I don't know.
yeah.
Acting puzzle. No. Well, I mean, it could be either or. I don't
Yeah.
really know.
I think obviously the most fate tempting option would be to, I don't know, say I'll be right back and go in back into the palace to find those keys, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
The other option would be to wield the power to melt the manacles with hellfire. I mean, that would
That
surely
was one
work.
thought. That
Yeah.
was one thought. Yeah.
Um, uh,
But I'm also trying to like activate my divine trigger or my mortal trigger.
yeah,
Um.
yeah. When you put your own life or limb on the line to help someone dangerous, clear all strain, or when you overcome a dangerous obstacle with nothing but your mortal wits or skills, awaken your divinity. Okay. I mean, I guess if you play this right, you might hit both triggers, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Um,
it's kind of dangerous because it's like of like the perilous nature of trying to reach him to reach like where his
mhm.
stuff is. Um,
Yeah, yeah. Um, but I guess using
because
your mortal wits or skills might
Mhm.
go towards the tempt fate because
Yeah, I
I
think what
mean,
she's gonna do now, hear me out, because this is fun, right? So, because why the hell not, right? I mean, we're both prisoners together, so sure, why not? I'm thinking that she's gonna look and test her metal. She's got like the things in her bag to be able to do this, to kind of figure out if she can like pick the locks or whatever. But she's going to take a running start or whatever she's got to do to leap and climb onto him
okay.
so she can release his bonds,
Yeah.
like hanging there. Because otherwise she can't reach it, right? I
Yeah,
mean, it's
yeah,
not
yeah.
like he's right there to
Yeah.
be able to do this and spin him around. It's like she's got to like do something to be on him to be able to act to release him. Yeah. So,
Um,
however you'd
just
like me to roll.
so yeah, yeah. So I'm just trying to think what would be in your bag that would allow you to open these manacles. Is it like really basic stuff like the penknife to sharpen your quill
Yeah, I
or
mean, like I think it's like like things that she would have on hand to be able to tools of the trade. So like some kind of knife,
yeah,
to
yeah,
sharpen things, and also maybe like some kind of file for harder substances to be able to file down as needed or whatever. I mean, like
yeah,
just
yeah.
yeah, and the knowledge, she's armed with the knowledge of how to use them to
Mhm.
do this
Okay.
crazy thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds
And she's
perilous.
feeling particularly athletic, so it's fine.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
all good.
sure.
Yeah.
Um,
So, what would you like for me to use?
yeah, tempting fate.
Sure.
I think we've established what perilous feat you're trying to accomplish.
Hmm.
Add
Hmm.
one to your 2d6 for each true statement. A skilled ally is lending you a hand. I don't
I
think
don't know how.
so.
I don't think so either.
Uh, you have no other options? I mean,
That's probably true. I mean, I like for this moment for what she's trying to accomplish. No, because it would take some time to search this big place to see if she can
yeah,
even
yeah,
find like keys. And he's not going to leave, and like Basphamel's not going to leave them out for anyone to find. I mean, like it's going to be probably on his person, which He's not wearing enough to wear to warrant it. So
So do you feel like, even if we think you could like, withdraw and do it a different way, you feel like it's now or never?
I think it's now or never
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
because
Okay.
she doesn't know like on what kind of schedule like Basphamel keeps to like it's taunting at 4. I mean, you know what I mean? So taunting
Uh,
Dogtooth at 4.
yeah,
Stay
yeah.
tuned.
Um, and you're far from any god that wishes you harm. I mean,
Currently, maybe
not currently, yes.
in this
Uh,
moment.
okay, so that's +2.
Okay.
Uh,
That could be fun. Oh, even better. On a
is that an
miss.
overkill?
No, I wish it
Oh,
was.
okay.
On a miss, the fates laugh in your
Okay.
face. The GM will
Well,
describe how your plan implodes. Is there anything I can do to up that? To upgrade?
no, no, I don't think
Damn.
there is.
I mean, I was willing to take strain for this, okay?
Yeah, there is no suffer strain instead options for this move.
You can tell I've been playing a lot of Deathmatch Island.
Yeah.
Let me take some fatigue. I'll take it.
Mm. So
Hmm.
yeah. So I think you leap across, and there's this kind of clattering together of the two bodies, and you kind of swing and then swing back,
Mhm.
and then it's like, oh, we got to hold, like, maybe I didn't think this one through. I've got to reach into my bag and pull out this
Mhm.
penknife and then start going at us. And yeah, I think maybe you get through what, excuse me, you open one,
Mhm.
and the sudden release like brings you in this more precarious trajectory. And I think maybe you lose grip of your lose hold of your bag, and it reams to the bottom of the floor. And I think you're still holding on to your knife, and maybe you have this moment of pause where you think, oh, if I open this, what's gonna keep me from falling down? And as you look down, you hear Basma's voice from below. I'll catch you.
Act impulsively. Just sheer bravado. I mean, like upon hearing that, it's like it's if that's so, if you really truly will catch me, and what there is to lose, you know. I mean, I can free him. I just need to take that chance. And if he doesn't catch me, then obviously I know that I meant nothing. And well, at least I did something, right? I mean, like living what it is. So yeah,
Yeah.
complete and sheer bravado at this point
I,
for act
I mean, I
impulsively.
think, yeah. I mean, I think when that thought goes through your mind, you look down again, and you see those predatory eyes,
Uh
the
huh.
teeth, and
Yep.
it's like, oh, maybe maybe catching me is not the is even worse than me falling. Uh,
Yeah.
um,
So yeah, she's gonna take that chance. She's going to release Dogtooth, and if she falls, she falls.
hmm.
Yeah.
So
What
what do
trouble
we?
hits me hard and fast? Go
Yeah,
for it.
yeah. I mean, yeah. I think acting impulsively is. one option here. But I think we kind of almost know the answer to that question already. What trouble hits you hard and fast?
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
I mean, um,
Would you want to have me do something else? That's fine.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Because okay,
Um,
so if I'm putting my life or limb on the line to help someone dangerous, clear all strain. So sure,
mhm.
free fall like will clear everything.
Yeah, but I think like you have done that already, right?
What?
You have put your life or limb on the line to help someone dangerous already, even though it's not quite successful yet.
Yeah.
So I think you can clear all strain.
Yep.
And then I think the divine trigger is you haven't overcome it yet.
Hmm.
Um,
I think like as she's if she releases Dogtooth, which I
mm,
imagine I have,
yeah,
and then I fall. I mean, I think she's gonna take her little penknife or whatever, and then just aim it. Like if
yeah,
like if she's
yeah,
gonna do it, she's gonna go whole hog, right? Because she saw those eyes, she saw those teeth, and
yeah,
she's
yeah,
just gonna aim. She's gonna aim the penknife and the stuff towards Basphamel. Let's
yeah.
really let's really go for
Let's
it.
go for it.
Yeah.
Well,
So.
so let's put it like this. You like this is maybe not your final act of defiance, but it's almost in that kind of
Hmm.
frame, right? You unlock the second manacle and like fall.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's your divine trigger, right? You've done
Yeah.
it with your mortal wits or skills, so you
Yeah.
can awaken your divinity.
Okay.
And now the question is, as you fall,
Hmm.
like straight towards Basketball,
Hmm.
what's your next move?
I mean, I'm sure it's a long way down, and she's not even concerned about like what happens to Dogtooth at this point, but she's aiming the penknife, towards towards Bastfamel, and I think looking at those predatory eyes and the teeth, I think this is where she will activate a power,
Mhm.
and I think she's.
Um, yeah, I mean, you got a lot of options here, right?
Hmm.
Because you could say you're gonna inflict violence, or you could wield the power, or you could just say, I'm gonna kill a god right here and now.
Oh, that's true.
Um,
Ba-da. Hold on.
or,
Let me.
or uh, I'm just gonna like put it on the table. You could
Yeah.
choose to inflict violence or wield a power in order
Hmm.
to leave him begging for his life and then spare him, right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I mean,
Okay, okay.
I was gonna aim for that. So I think not only as an act of defiance, but also as almost a way of cushioning the blow, like cushioning the landing, whatever. Because if he's gonna catch her, he's gonna catch her in his teeth. That's what it looks like. So she's gonna like give him a lot to consume. So leading the fall in front of the penknife and such, I think she's going to see hellfire. Like he's going to see as she falls, like he's gonna see a light in her eyes, and then also fire bursts like out, and then also like at the edges of her vision, like as if she's seeing, like she's diving through it, but it's actually in front of her
Mhm.
and creating like this pyrokinetic push. I mean, like however you want to like term it, but I mean, like, yeah, it's she's a flame,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
She's pushing like a fount of flame in front of her towards towards Basphamel.
Do you
So
think do you think there's something that we as an audience, or maybe Wall herself, sees in this moment that like is a direct correlation or mirror image of what the devil did when she faced him down?
yeah, I think so. I think so. I mean, it's like she's watched him do it. She's watched the devil do it.
Yeah.
So
So
Why the
do
hell
you
not?
think this is like something of the
She's
devil's
channeling.
divinity
Yeah,
now almost like shaping
channeling.
your actions?
Yeah, yeah. That sounds pretty good because again, like her perspective, the fire is on the edges of her vision, like as if she's seeing through flame. And then like, we see as like the audience, it's like, she's falling face first. She's like aiming this penknife down, but in front of the penknife even is this again, this fount of flame that's kind of creating this kinetic
Mm.
push
Yeah.
ahead of it. And then maybe like, she sees the flame reflected in his eyes, which suddenly turn horrified as
Hmm.
he's realizing
Yeah.
what's coming at him. And there's this manic smile that appears on her face as she's falling,
Yeah.
and she feels herself smile, which is, yeah, but partly her, could be partly the devil. Who knows? It's just like
Yeah.
it's right
Yeah.
there.
It's all part of a package deal now, baby.
Oh yeah, it's totally part of a package deal. So wield the
Uh,
power. Done this specific act before. I mean, like she's used it. I don't know about perfectly. I don't remember what I rolled for that. Um, um,
um, but I think the you wielding Hellfire before was about like im like driving away or imprisoning the souls in the
mhm.
river of fire, right?
Yeah.
So this seems like a very different wielding of the power.
Okay. So not that. And
Um,
I don't, I'm
no,
not I'm not desperate for this to work. I'm
no?
just,
Okay,
yeah, I know I'm not going to mark any strain. She
okay,
feels very like again, it's like, she's gone down in strain and I feel like her mind is unclouded. So
mm,
she's
yeah,
not desperate at all. It's like if it
okay.
works it works, and if it doesn't, she's just happy to be here.
Hmm.
Close to shrine lair domain of the god you took the power from. Yeah. So,
Yeah, so if like the rivers of fire are like just outside this palace, and I
mhm.
think usually when you're in like one of the seasonal halls or whatever, it's very far away, but this is almost like outside of that. This highest tower, the highest room in the highest tower,
Okay.
is kind of just here. And I
Okay.
think the usual effects of balmy nature are kind of not quite present in this room because that would be too comfortable for Dogtooth, right?
Mhm.
So I think, yeah, you get a +1 for that.
Okay, great. Okay. Whoop. Not rolled yet. Hold on. Actually, you know what? Let me do two dark dice. given the nature of what I'm doing right now, let's see how bad this goes. Oh, it goes badly. 10 plus 1 is 11.
Okay.
GM will describe how you also drain, terrify, or wreck what's around you.
Yeah. So I think, ooh, yeah, this now kind of sword of flame that's like just coming out of your hand. This kind of penknife is, I mean, I think your prized penknife is just gonna melt in
Oh, yeah.
this hellfire and fury.
Sure.
And the um Basphamel kind of doesn't quite hold it back, but absorb some of that impact and like the fire just like spreads out, like one of those sci-fi explosions, right?
Yes. Can I
Um
can I land in a superhero pose? Superhero
like
knee.
like a squirrel.
Yes, it's fine.
And I think, this kind of almost like you're down like a floor, you're in the middle of the palace, and this explosion just cuts this palace in two. And like
Right.
the floors crumble and melt, the trees crumble and melt. Like this whole preserve of nature, this whole idyllic paradise loses its power in an instant. And like the hellfire, the lava from inside just rushes into this vacuum of power. And like when you finally hit the ground, maybe it's like the marble floor of one of the grand hall below. The this sword of fire like plunges through Basphamel, and the fire just comes in like the tide, to meet the floor, like to meet this sword of fire just as it impacts the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And he's burning, but he grabs this the sword and like pushes it out of him, and like he's gone full, you know, lion now.
Yeah.
There's nothing in him that looks human anymore.
Right.
Um, I mean, he is hurting. Like you have dealt him a blow. Like you can see the kind of the viscera of the godhood kind of bursting out of him. You can see the fur on his paws burning as he pulls this blade out of him.
Yeah.
But he is just kind of almost berserk with fury and with this kind of rush of adrenaline or whatever it is the gods get.
Yeah. I think she rises from where she is and she will actually, like, kind of like do this weird deliberate turn, like as she's standing there, three-quarter turn, but then she turns and like points at him. So rude. And then she just says, "You would consume me? You empty God! Your appetite knows no bounds. You would keep me here. You kept him here." She's not, like, she's just pointing up at Dogtooth, not even knowing like where he is. "Because it pleased you. For now. Until what? You'd capture somebody else? Until they were used up? And dead? And mortal? No. I refuse. I refuse to feed you. But just know that you're hurting right now. And I can make it hurt so much more for you trying to feed on me. So empty. I would have been empty too. What have you to say? What have you to say to prevent me from causing you more pain?"
And I think Bashfamol is, for a moment, you know, uh, undone by your words, but that anger, that fury overtakes him, and he charges you.
Okay.
I think, though, I mean, you can run him through or swat him aside, with
Mm-hmm.
this blade of hellfire. It's still
Right.
up to you, but I think you almost get a sense that without his domain and without everything that he enjoys here, he almost wants you to end him.
Almost. Hmm. Is that what she sees? Is that what she sees? She sees like a desperate predator backed into a corner. Is that what she sees?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think does this score like how does Wall treat this power? Does it kind of overcome or overwhelm their usual kind of sense for things? Like, is she overcome with this scorn and hatred for what he was trying to do to her? Or, yeah, I mean, I wonder how clear-eyed she is in this moment.
Yeah. I mean, she has her words. I mean, because, like, the fire is coursing through her veins, so why not? I mean, like, of course it is. But I mean, I think as he gets closer and, like, makes to just charge her, even though he knows that she could, like, it's very possible for her to kill him. I mean, like, she's got little Slaughter's power as a backup if need be. If the swatting with the sword doesn't work, or running through. I think maybe maybe there's a little bit of human left, and she remembers that. It's like, he's not human. He is this creature that is in pain, and maybe she remembers. She remembers that too. And maybe she relents a little bit, and instead of, like, letting the sword remain that he runs himself on, maybe she just kind of, like, maneuvers the power to instead be this fan of flame. So it turns from a solid blade of fire into this kind of relenting a little bit, and she kind of, like, just fans out her fingers and kind of swats Basphamel away. No, no. You tried to show me rest and beauty when you were in the right frame of mind. And for that, I thank you. And she will turn that fan of flame into a cage. And then she will walk up to him very calmly and look into his eyes again. This man, but more lion than he's ever been to her, and say, "Do you want to end it? Is that what you want? Do you want to die?"
And I think he is beyond conversation. And I think even I think maybe he thinks that you are taunting him with this new prison. And I think he says, you will never find someone to love you.
Be that as it may. But you also will never be satisfied. And she turns the fan of flame into a rake, and she drives it into Basphamel, killing a god, or at least intending to. So
Okay, so
2d6.
let's roll them bones.
Yeah. So that's 7.
So they see something vital from you as well. Name what vital part of yourself you lose.
Ooh. When we say vital, I mean, like, are we talking physical or something?
I mean, physical seems too easy.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, I'm trying to figure out, like, when we say
Yeah.
vital.
I mean, if we want to go on the kind of thing we imagine Basketball could take from you, is it like the the capacity to love or be loved? Um,
I mean, that would be pretty terrible. Yeah.
um, Something like a contentment, like the capacity to take away your contentment with
Oh,
what you
yeah.
have.
Yeah, I think that's what it is because I mean if he's a god of appetite, then yeah, I think that would make perfect sense. He would take away her sense of contentment because he would consume that along with his dying breath.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So she has no parity in that case. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's
yeah.
the truth.
Okay.
Takes away sense of contentment. But regardless of role, you seize a semblance of their power. Yeah. Okay. Druidcraft.
Good
Let's
craft.
see.
Yeah.
Okay. How does he die? As she slays him with the rake of hellfire.
Yeah. I think, yeah, I think maybe you see this, his shape starts to change, but it's no longer like a effortless, coherent shape change. Every kind of change of musculature or form brings pain. And one part of him is a lion and the other part a raven. It's all disjointed. And then I think that fire slowly boils him, and I think all you see is like something, some wisp of something floating on fire in the superheated air. Like it could be a feather or something like that. Um,
Right.
but I think really what strikes you is whatever form he's in, there's this shriek of pain. Um,
I think with every shriek, I think she closes her eyes and then shudders. And there is actually um, a tear of flame coming from her eyes. And she just kind of watches his form burn. Yeah. Once it is all over, she is empty. There's no sense of being done. There's no sense of completion. There's just something empty about it. Maybe there's a blackened husk left. Who knows? But I mean, she kind of like stares around and looks at all the damage. And then, you know, just kind of bows her head for a few minutes. I mean, I don't know if like Dogtooth like just ran or what, but I mean, like, she's there for a few minutes, like not even really thinking about anything else at the moment.
yeah, I think Dogtooth slowly lowers himself from this still intact chain and lands alongside you. never been one for testimonials or final words, but you want to show me this pub?
She doesn't look at him, but kind of laughs. And then, like, as she turns towards him to, uh, you know, think on how to get back to Newbridge, if she can figure that out. I mean, he does not see the one tear, actual human tear, that kind of floats down her cheek as she turns away from Basphamel's body. And, yeah. It's not even grieving for him, because she doesn't even know what she's missing, perhaps. But she's kind of like feeling something, but doesn't know what that is for herself. As she thinks on like how to get back to Newbridge, and then thinking on the name of Ethel's pub. Yeah.
It's probably our time for a break.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. So I think you and Dogtooth kind of clamber out of the hole in the earth, which once held Basamel's palace and realm. And there is maybe a road westwards to Newbridge, but yeah, I think Dogtooth kind of senses some reluctance or some desire to not go back into that well-known problem quite yet. Do you think uh, do you think you say that to Dogtooth, or do you think this is something kind of that he just senses and knows to go elsewhere?
I think I think she says, again without looking at him, I know of a place, but it has its own mortal troubles that I guess I found my way here to avoid, as I didn't want to deal with them just yet. Do you know of a place? Is there a place that you remember as a possible favorite? It might not be there anymore, depending on how long you were kept, but it might be someplace new, someplace else to try.
Hmm. Yeah, let's go south for a while. Let's see where our feet bring us.
Okay.
And certainly for Dogtooth, he takes the southward fork in this road without a backward glance. Do you think Wall follows suit, or is there something tugging at her attention from behind?
She will remember that she left her Rowan staff back there, but she kind of looks at the crumbling ruin and thinks thinks better of it, because she doesn't want to go back and try to find it.
Hmm.
And evidently, like, she doesn't necessarily need it if she was able to call upon that fire without,
Mhm.
channeling it through the staff. So, okay. Um, but she'll probably want to find something else to use along the way, um, as a walking stick or just as a support. Um, Although she's feeling, strangely enough, much stronger than she did.
Yeah. So, so yeah, I think it doesn't seem like too much time passes. Maybe half a day's walk. And you're not sure whether it's the company you keep, the miles roll by, the the irreverent or let's say inappropriate tales that Dogtooth tells on the road. But you barely notice it. Um, and this is, I mean, not quite wilderness. There's some kind of um, signs of scattered farmland, but nothing approaching like a village or anything like that out here. And at some, I mean, apparently random part of the track, um, he veers off it to go, up into a small valley. Um, and there, I think you spy a small cottage, with, I mean, presumably the roof was thatched at some point, but it seems to be overtaken with moss or mold or something, something less um, than ideal. And yeah, this is a small, maybe like a two-room cottage. The lintel of the doorway, you know, well under even your height. You have to duck to get through here, and the kind of the smell of peat from the fire is almost overwhelming. Um, Dogtooth doesn't bother to knock. He just kind of announces your arrival as you duck inside.
I mean, is there anyone in here?
Yeah, there's an old man in the corner sitting beside that fire. His gnarly hands like are gripping a walking stick, and he stares sightlessly into the fire. He barely glances up as you enter, and he kind of gestures for you to sit down. Maybe there's one other stool and maybe uh, a crate, a small box or a small barrel, which will do as a seat in a pinch.
Begging your pardon, sir. We are here, uh, at the beck of my companion. She's speaking to the old man, but does he respond?
Yeah, he reaches across and slaps on the seat of the stool. Sit yourself down there.
She will, slowly. She kind of like, like searches into his face to see what she sees.
And I think, yeah, there's probably something familiar about him. I wonder. No, I think it's like you struggle for a long moment to recognize him, and I think this is a face that you recognize from a coin. You know, this profile because he's not looking at you. He's like still staring into the fire, and like this is a profile you've looked at, you know, hundreds of times. Uh,
Uh,
and I think Dogtooth like says Edmund here has a great barrel of ale available to whoever tells him a story he hasn't heard before.
ooh.
And and I think this kind of casual mention of the name is like, oh yes, King Edmund the whatever, you know. Um, there are still coins from his reign from 20 years ago or 30 years ago, knocking around the place. Uh, silver pennies never quite go out of circulation, right?
And like, like he can't see it obviously, but I think, Wall's jaw drops. King Edmund.
I think that gets you a frost look, let's say, from the old man. King no longer, lassie.
She kind of blinks and like tries to recall if she saw any tales of King Edmund's, well, kingdom, land, and what might have happened. Um,
I mean, what do you think? Some kind of almost cautionary tale about, a coup or a revolution that for some reason, which was never quite explained, left the king alive and in exile. What and probably something that you might have heard of even before you would have been reading it in the cloister, some kind of cautionary tale.
hmm.
What what do you think is the strange quality about Edmund that always drew you in?
There was a tale of him being a demigod, I think. And while they moved against his rule, there was something about him personally that they could not deny. And they knew that if they tried to kill him in that manner to unseat him, then they would bring down the wrath of his divine parent. And they did not want to do that. So they found the most mortal way of trying to oust him by making it very clear that if he stayed, then the people would move against him. But he could go peaceably he could keep his life. He just had to leave. He had to leave his land and no longer be king.
Um, and do you think his divine parentage was known or rumored, or who do you think was identified by scholars?
Um, let's see. I'm trying to see what would be possibly um, appropriate. Um, I think there was a rumor that he was the progeny of the Mage Eater, and the people did not appreciate their great and wise council of wizards being siphoned off one by one. It was like almost like, there was like a sacrifice being demanded of like every so many years during his reign because of that. And so um, they stood up to him and did it again in a very mortal way. So, like, they did not utilize arcane means because that would just get siphoned off um, in their pool of power. But they threatened him with physical weapons, um, possibly even in the way of the old uh, legends of taking him away and burning him or decapitating him, you know, cut off at the head and um, not be king anymore. But I think out of respect of his human parent, I think they decided to keep him alive. I think his human parent was more beloved. But yeah.
So, yeah, uh, Dogtooth lifts lifts the lid off this cask of beer and hands you a cup, which he fills from his own. Well, I hope you can tell the good Edmund something he hasn't heard before.
Perhaps not. Perhaps it is too fanciful for even a former monarch to believe. And I think this is where, almost as if she is telling this tale out of a script that she has scribed, that she has copied. She tells a bit of her tale
Hmm.
of coming upon Little Slaughter, and then, uh, the devil making her way to Newbridge, and the things that the devil had planned there, um, and then going into the palace of Lord Basphamel and finding Dogtooth. I mean, just basically like, her adventures so far. Oh,
Mhm.
and then of course, like, including more about like the wolf's heads, um, because of what she found after she had left the cloister and killed Little Slaughter.
Yeah,
But again, she's like saying it in terms of like not her own story, but like as if it was somebody completely different, like
yeah, yeah.
someone else.
Do you do you think you're trying to feel someone or something out? Maybe even like, is this are you trying to figure out something about Edmund or Dogtooth or this place? There's something specific about it, or is it just a random middle of nowhere kind of place? Are
I
you?
mean, that's just so many things because I mean,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
she'd love to know more about Dogtooth, especially like why he brought her specifically here.
yeah,
I mean, is this beer fantastic? I mean, like, it better be damn good, you know what I mean? To
yeah,
to
yeah.
bring them all the way here. Um and especially with like a particular personage like King Edmund, you know.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. So, yeah, I guess when you try to feel out a person, place, or thing, say what you want clarity about and answer one. What's most interesting to you about this situation? A multiple choice, one answer only.
right, what feels dark or unnerving when I peer deeper? I mean, this strange little place
Yeah.
with this ousted king, exiled king, and a cask of beer that may or may not be like fantilly-tastic. I mean, it's not like she's like, drunk a lot, so it could be, it could not be, who knows? I mean, it's drinkable, so that's fine. I mean, obviously not as good as the stuff that she had when she was over at Basphamel's, but I mean, like, again, that's completely different. Um, but as she's telling the tale, she's watching Dogtooth's reactions to a story that he has not known, you know, up until the point that she met him. And she's also watching King Edmund's reaction, even on his sightless face. So yeah, trying to get a feel for what's going on. So what feels dark and unnerving is like, why here?
Hmm.
Why now? And it just feels like so out of place. Like, especially for Dogtooth, who's just been so garrulous and just like seeming to want, you know, an audience to tell things to. So, yeah.
Yeah. Um, so I think the clarity you seek about that whole like why here, why now is maybe something in the way that Dogtooth looked at you and treated you, which was you're like somewhere in between the way the gods have treated you so far. So most of them treated you until it was too late, like just another mortal. And the way home, like, gave you this, oh, you're just one of us, kind of spiel. And I think maybe your inkling is that Dogtooth thinks that you're like Edmund, so the child of a god. And you're not sure what he like. He doesn't really seem like, unless it's a scheme or a trick, which he can't have had time to concoct.
Hmm.
This is just him trying to figure out what you really are.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah.
Um, and I guess what feels welcoming on the surface is, I think they are both listening to this tale you tell. And you definitely get a sense that they want to ask questions, but that's not the done thing, right? When you're telling a story, the historian's footnotes that maybe you're used to either, like
Yep.
uh, are not what you do. There might be tangents, but never footnotes.
Yeah, right. So I
Um,
mean, like maybe that this is like, their version of like, going around the fire and letting the storyteller weave their tale,
yeah,
but
yeah,
not like interrupting with any like questions. A child might
yeah,
ask a
yeah.
lot of questions, but I mean like they won't, right?
There
So,
are forms to be observed, right?
yeah.
Um, Here's a question then. Given that we just mentioned the kind of difference in viewpoint the way home had, do you mention her? Do you mention that kind of strangeness, that, you know, oracle-like conversation that you had with her in the temple? Or is that something you're going to kind of leave out?
I don't think they feel like different influences. I feel like Wall would not mention the voice of the cave. Like, she would not explain the tattoos
Mm,
on her arm. She would not explain, what she did when she first got into Newbridge, which was talk to the way home. So I don't think she would have mentioned either one. Like, the tale is concentrating strictly on the gods in her path. And she ran away from one, but then the rest of them, like, for some reason or whatever, she thought by virtue of her little wooden, her little Rowan stick or whatever, like,
mm,
she was able to to take out like Little Slaughter and Devil, and then I mean, like she didn't have it when she was with Lord Basphamel, but I mean, like, just discovering a different kind of strength, perhaps,
yeah, yeah.
to face him, and so she didn't need her little stick anymore. Um, and then
Um,
once she's done, like once she gets to the point of like, and then the castle was a crumbling ruin when they left. I mean, literally, like, doing it in third person. And they wandered for a while until they came to a little cottage and met with an exiled king and had a mug of beer. And this is where she kind of comes out of her recitation and then looks at them both. But she has been carefully, distantly observing, like, their reactions
yeah,
to her story. But I mean, like, this is where she's fully looking them on, and then she will finish with that sentence and then like take a swig.
yeah. And I think
Finally take a swig.
obviously Dogtooth isn't really surprised, right? Because eventually it's like, well, I did meet you in Baskerville's palace, so that like from then on it was obvious.
Hmm.
Uh, but I think there's this strange kind of glimmer in Edmund's eyes, like he is surprised, but then not really surprised, right? It's like, oh well, the best stories always seem inevitable when you're looking back. There's no twists. There's just signposts that you missed first time around. Um, and he pours some more beer, and I think he kind of he kind of ruminates for a while, and he's thinking of something, and he kind of nudges Dogtooth with a stick, and like he says, go and get some more heat for the fire. Like the bucket beside the fire is empty, or only has one bale left. So Dogtooth like picks up the bucket and walks out, and Edmund leans in and says, "Well, now that you know, you'll have to be careful of the wolf's head because they want nothing more than to kill us all. If they'd had my way, if they'd had their way, I would have been hung, drawn, and quartered."
They overran your people too?
Of course.
They're like they're like a plague. Like a and then she stops and thinks about it before she says it. Like a pestilence. And that just fills her with a shiver of fear. Am I
Do you imagine? Do you want to take take that pause as being an ominous place to finish the session, or do you have more to think
I
about?
mean, like, if you want to create that as like, the great episode pause, because then it's like, maybe there's visions of other places that the wolf's head has gone and overrun and invaded. But I mean, like, that symbol in different forms, or maybe like, eventually coalescing into the form it is taking now,
Yeah,
um,
yeah,
appears in different places. And yeah, that is,
yeah. I think it's a good place to wrap.
yeah.
Okay. Let me stop the recording and then we'll do our debrief.